Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cracking the code on one of the most sought-after opportunities for engineering students. We're diving straight into the ultimate guide for landing a Honeywell internship, and we'll be directly unpacking the absolute best strategies and insights right out of the Cosmic Latte Jobs playbook.
So, are you ready to finally step out of the theoretical world of the classroom and actually start building real solutions for a global tech powerhouse? Look, if you're an engineering undergrad and you're just itching to get your hands dirty with real industry projects, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to look at exactly what it takes to cross that threshold from being a student to becoming a practicing engineer.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. The opportunity. 2. Core profile. 3. Technical playbook. 4. The interview gauntlet. And 5. Execution strategy. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The opportunity.
Now, Honeywell isn't just a one-trick pony. We're talking about massive innovation across aerospace, industrial automation, building technologies, automotive, energy, safety solutions, and software development. Getting your foot in the door here, it's literally tapping into this massive ecosystem of global innovation. It's an environment where mechanical components, electrical systems, and incredibly complex software are just constantly intersecting. You're essentially stepping into an arena where the tech being built literally keeps planes in the sky and powers entire industrial grids. It's huge.
But listen, there's a massive mental shift you've got to make when targeting this kind of role. You're moving far away from routine academic work, the standard syllabus, textbook theories, and predictable exams. Instead, you're pivoting hard toward real-world projects. You'll be analyzing live, often really messy data, participating in cross-functional brainstorming, and collaborating to solve actual live engineering problems. You're moving from learning how things should work in a perfectly controlled textbook environment to making things actually work out in the unpredictable field. And that requires a completely different level of adaptability.
Moving on to Section 2, Core Profile. Now, think about what's actually missing from these requirements. Notice anything? You don't see a demand for 10 years of highly specialized, niche technical experience. For an internship role, the priority shifts heavily toward foundational qualities. We're talking strong analytical thinking, solid problem-solving ability, teamwork, excellent communication, and an independent drive to just get things done. But honestly, maybe most importantly, they're looking for a raw curiosity to learn. They want to see that you have baseline data analysis skills and the mindset to absorb a massive amount of new information like a sponge. The tech? Well, the tech can be taught, but that innate drive and critical thinking, you've got to bring that with you.
All right, Section 3, Technical Playbook.
Think of this as your ultimate study guide, and remember, the margin for error is pretty razor-thin for a company operating in such high-stakes fields. If you're a CS student, you need to lock down data structures, think trees and hash maps, understand algorithms and time complexity, and be rock solid on object-oriented programming, SQL, and Git basics. You'll absolutely need these to write efficient, scalable code. For the electronics and embedded crowd, your focus shifts to the hardware-software bridge, microcontrollers, ARM architecture, embedded C, and communication protocols like UART, SPI, I2C, and CAN. Oh, and master ADC, PWM, and interrupts. And mechanical students, you need a tight grip on engineering drawing, CAD, GD&T, manufacturing processes, and the basics of Six Sigma and lean manufacturing. You aren't just memorizing flashcards here. You're building a robust, foundational toolkit so you can safely and effectively jump into live projects in your specific lane.
But hey, regardless of your specific engineering branch, there are some universal skills that will absolutely set you apart. It is super advantageous to recognize that data analysis is a core responsibility across the board. You need to be deeply comfortable with Excel. And I mean actually using functions like pivot tables, VLOOKUP, and conditional formatting, not just, opening a blank spreadsheet. You should grasp basic statistics, logical reasoning, and maybe even dabble in some Power BI or Python pandas if you really want to stand out from the pack. Strong aptitude and problem-solving skills are basically the universal language required to survive and thrive in any of these roles.
Which brings us to Section 4, the interview gauntlet.
So how does this actually work? Well, this hiring funnel completely demystifies the exact path you'll take to secure the offer. It generally follows these 6 stages chronologically. You kick things off with the online application, which hopefully leads straight to resume shortlisting. Pass that initial screen, and you face the online assessment. Clear that hurdle, and you step into the technical interview, which is followed by a managerial interview, and finally, the HR discussion. Knowing this structured flow is huge because it means you know exactly what to expect and can mentally prep through each specific hurdle without getting caught off guard.
Now, when you actually hit that technical round, prepare for some rapid-fire fundamentals drawn right from the source material. First off, be ready to clearly explain your final year academic project, detailing exactly what your specific contribution was. Then, expect to contrast some core concepts. What's the difference between a process and a thread? How about a primary key versus a foreign key? What exactly is object-oriented programming? For the hardware folks, what's the strict difference between UART and SPI? Can you explain interrupts, PWM, and ADC while under pressure? The interviewers are essentially testing the absolute rock bottom of your foundations here to make sure you won't collapse when the real problems get infinitely more complex.
And for the software-focused candidates, the gauntlet definitely continues with some classic on-the-spot programming challenges. You aren't just silently writing code on a whiteboard, you need to be able to talk through your logic out loud while reversing a string, finding duplicate numbers, or writing out a palindrome or Fibonacci program. Can you implement a bubble sort or binary search from scratch while someone is staring right at you? Oh, and you'll definitely need to articulate the conceptual differences between languages, like C versus C++ or Java. Explaining your thought process smoothly while actively solving the problem, that is just as critical as actually getting the right answer.
But remember, the technical side isn't everything. When you reach the HR and managerial rounds, you have to prove you're a highly collaborative team player. Beyond the classic, tell me about yourself and why do you want to join Honeywell, they're going to dig deeply into behavioral questions to see how you react under pressure or when things inevitably go wrong. How do you handle a challenging situation or a failure? How do you manage incredibly tight deadlines? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Your communication skills and emotional intelligence right here are the final keys to unlocking that offer.
Finally, Section 5, Execution Strategy.
Let's talk tactics. Your resume is literally your first impression, and the golden rule here is merciless optimization. Keep it strictly to one page, no exceptions. Recruiters are skimming hundreds of these daily, so you have to make it effortless for them to see your value. Put your projects, internships, and certifications right front and center. Clearly list your technical skills, and please, only list the programming languages you actually know and can defend in a high-pressure interview. And definitely don't forget to include active links to your GitHub and LinkedIn profiles. This gives them an immediate, tangible window into the actual work you've built and who you are as an emerging professional.
And hey, it is so vital to treat every single interview as a genuinely valuable experience. Going through this multi-stage gauntlet, from those high-pressure online assessments to the tough managerial rounds, it's basically a masterclass in professional development. Even if you aren't selected on your very first try, you are actively building the exact interview muscles, resilience, and stamina you need to land a role at any top product-based company in the future.
Which leads us perfectly to this awesome final piece of advice straight from the source material. Don't wait until you're completely prepared before applying. Apply early. Look, it's incredibly easy to fall into the trap of thinking you need to study just one more algorithm or perfect just one more side project before you're finally worthy. But continuous learning happens on the job, not just in isolation preparing for it. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment or that absolutely flawless project portfolio, will you ever actually step into the arena? Seriously, what are you waiting for? Stop waiting, start applying, and let the real-world engineering begin. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.